Hey everybody, welcome back to GR Research. We're again in the listening room shooting another video, and today is just a quick follow-up video on the one that we just threw out there a few days ago on the Vienna Acoustics models. This was the Vienna Acoustics Mozart and the Vienna Acoustic Mozart Grand, or Grand Mozart. If you watched the other video, you've noticed that I was fairly impressed with the work they did on the Mozart, and really scratching my head when it came to the Mozart Grand, which was the much more expensive model that used the same tweeter and just used a different woofer. And I'm still kind of scratching my head on this one. So here's what happened. We disassembled these things, wired all of these drivers externally to where I could work on them. I did a new network for this model and just tweak things a little bit. It's a lot different really than it was before, in that it's more of a 2.5 way now. The tweeter's crossing just to this upper woofer. The lower woofer's playing just the lower region only. It made a nice smooth response. The tweeter is a pretty nice ScanSpeak model tweeter. If you see there, it says the ScanSpeak logo and everything still on it. It's not the smoothest of response. The lower region of that tweeter is quite humped up. In fact, let me throw up a frequency response measurement of just the tweeter only. There it is, and it was actually taken in this box. As you can see, the lower range of it is pretty humped up. So it took a third order filter to flatten this out and get a good response out of it. And that also limited how low it could actually play, because they couldn't let it play down into that humped up range. But nevertheless, new crossover for this thing. Let's throw it up and look at the new frequency response measurement, which is pretty smooth. Got that 4 dB dip out of it that was there at the crossover region. If we look at the individual slopes of them, you can see the lower woofer is just has a first order filter on it, so it's playing just the lower region, and we've got the upper driver playing up to the tweeter. It's crossing at about looks like about 2500 hertz or so. The impedance, which was really low before, came up a little bit. It's now a real balanced impedance load, and if you look at the spectral decay, it's super clean, and it was clean before, so all I did was balance it out. We'll throw some really good quality parts at it this time instead of what was in there. Some sonic caps, some good air core inductors, and we'll get this guy the parts he needs to go in and do an upgrade on this thing. He'll love it. It's not going to be an expensive group of parts. I don't know that I'm going to throw this out there as a DIY kit. These are fairly old. I don't know how many of these there are out there. So if you are interested in it, give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll get you some totals on what all of this came up to. It wasn't really that bad. Now, this thing, as you remember, I had some reservations about it. The frequency response, let's throw that up and look at it. Oh yeah, it was jacked up. And what was really bad is if you look at the spectral decay, let's look at that. You'll see all of that stored energy right there where that hump is. And all that's coming from this little woofer. This little polycone woofer should have been thrown back to the engineers, and they should have said, fix this, because this was messed up. Decent tweeter, but it was all in these drivers. You know, I originally thought, well, man, maybe whoever did the design work on the crossover just dropped the ball or something, and and it does look pretty rough, but the real problem is in these drivers. If you look at this measurement, it's just a measurement of the upper driver alone. Yeah, that's the measurement of that woofer. It's jacked. There's no flat, smooth response and a roll off, and no. There's that big hump right around 1 kHz or so. I think it was just past 1 kHz, around 1100 hertz or so. And then there's a secondary hump up there around 3 kHz that's pretty bad too. And with the crossover that they put on it from the factory, it took care of the one way up there at 3K, but it did nothing for that one at 1100 hertz. And I set this thing up and wired the drivers out the back through the ports and shot some responses of this thing, put a notch filter right in that peak, pulled that thing down to where it was flat, checked the spectral decay, and that ringing is still there. All I did was just turn it down. There was no fixing it. So I had to say, this one's not going anywhere. I can't fix this. Sometimes there are problems with speakers that you just can't fix. Sometimes it's better to just start over. I did look to see if maybe I had a different woofer that would fit this. My M130 does fit this hole, and it needs about this same airspace ported, so we thought about doing that, but these driver holes are recessed for this to fit flush, and our M130 surface mounts. Hobbs mentioned, hey, we could 3D print a ring to sit in here so that our driver fits flush, and we could kind of adapt it. I could put our drivers in here, and I could make something out of this. But where are we going with this thing? I mean, we're salvaging a box and a tweeter, and we're having to custom build a whole new design around this thing. Sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it's better just to start over. And I'm not sure what the customer's going to want to do with this. I'll definitely propose the concept of, hey, we could, go in and change the woofers out to our woofers or something and make something out of it. But for that amount of work and the cost involved, it may be better just to start over, just to build some of our kits that use better quality tweeters and drivers and everything across the board, and it's just a lot easier that way. So I want to do this quick follow-up and let you guys see kind of what happened. Again, Vienna Acoustics, I give you a thumbs up on what you did with this model, and on this one I'm still scratching my head thinking, what the heck, man, what's going on here, and that happens sometimes. I get speakers in and they're whacked, and I don't know why they were designed or engineered that way, or why they were sent out the door that way. We see it with a lot of different brands, and then we see some really good quality stuff. And when I see the good quality stuff and a company that's done a good job, I'll let you guys know. And when we see stuff like this that's jacked up, I have to let you guys know. So that's it for this one. And I've got a bunch more videos coming. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I thank you for subscribing. And I'll see you guys in the next video.